I got to a point where I started kind of questioning my priorities in life and realized that you work a lot and work was taking up too much of life, and I started feeling like you work, go home to sleep, work, and you wait to die. That's pretty much life.
We met all the nicest people which you can imagine. They're very friendly, they share, they care about each other, they help each other, and they push each other.
You know, just the curiosity and excitement of what's around the next corner.
So I think for me, what keeps me going is just knowing and anticipating that feeling of completion at the end.
I told my boss, I'm just staying for 3 more months. I have to go somewhere. And I didn't know where I was going at that time. And then I started to do some research, and I find this trail. But then as soon as I start to read about it, I was like, oh God, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do.
I didn't really think much about it. And it was kind of like on the first day when we were walking, I just started laughing. My brother's like, why are you laughing? I was like, I just didn't really think I would be here right now doing it. So yeah, it was just a spur of the moment decision.
I didn't really prepare much. I did a small hike in Korea that was 400 kilometers long, but that was like a walk, because in Korea there are no hills. Like the tallest hill is like New Zealand's smallest hill.
First, when I came to New Zealand, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know about any long-distance trails in the world. And I met TA hikers along those tracks, and they told me about it. And I was like, you guys must be crazy. Like, why would you walk? Why would you walk for 5 months or however long? And then, so the seed was planted, and it took me another 4 to 5 months, I guess. And then eventually I was like, I need to do this. Like, I purchased the book. There's this book from the Ara Roa, and it all started.
Nature heals, and it's true. It sounds cheesy, but it's really, really true, because once you're out surrounded by nature, you just feel like all stress run off your body, and you can just really be in the here and now, because you're always thinking about the next thing, and what you want to get or what you want to do, and I don't think it's healthy. I think you need to kind of stop, take a, breathe a little bit, and that's really easy to do on the trail.
First day was hard to get used to the pack, because we normally don't have a 18-kilo backpack on our backs. That was really the hardest things.
You just had this really huge feeling of accomplishment when you got off the beach. You were like, yes, it's finally over. Like, no more beach. Like, finally we had to see something different than sand. Sand isn't going to be in all my clothes for like months.
Sometimes it's pretty hard with my backpack, but I have to push myself every day, and I try to do it, and yeah, it's good, it's good. I wanted something physical and something like that.
A through hike is not a walk in a park. A lot of people have romantic notions of what a through hike might be. They think, oh, I want to walk and see these beautiful sceneries. You're going to see that, but a lot of it is going to be hard. But you really can't appreciate all the fantastic beauty and all the amazing people and stuff you're going to experience along the way unless you have the hard stuff too. You can't have the good without the bad, because then it's all becomes bland. You need to have the highs and the lows. And when you accept that and when you just kind of go with it and not dwelling on it, I think that's the most important thing.
The trail, I mean, you turn the trail into your home, and that's kind of what makes it so much more enjoyable. It's like, it's not, home's not a place, it's a feeling. When you have that feeling of you're exactly where you need to be, that's what makes it so much more enjoyable.
Auckland, everyone hated it, and I was so happy to go through Auckland with my backpack and go like, hey, I'm happy to be here. Like, just for one day, you cross it, you go through, and just you feel so not in your world, but in another world, and being stranger of everything, but you're here and like seeing everything from outside, and this is interesting too.
I'm living in Berlin. Some friends of me, they live in 400 k's away. And I said once upon the time, I said, wouldn't it be nice to walk the 400 k's from Berlin to my friends? Just imagine 400 k's. But then, you know, I walked, for example, 4,000 k's from Berlin to Cap Finisterre. What do you think about the 400 k's? What I'm thinking about the 400 k's by now? 400 k's? Yeah, 400 k's, I'm just walking 400 k's, it's okay. So the relation, I don't know if it's the right word, the relation, it moved, you know? So what I want to say is just about the limits in our heads. We set the limits ourselves.
Well, I like a challenge, and once I've embarked on a challenge, I like to meet it, and that's sort of what's going on here. You know, I suppose you could say I'm not a quitter, but I wouldn't be foolish enough just to carry on doing it, just to not quit. I'm trying to be sensible and keep safe.
For me, I think the hardest part are like the really jagged, exposed rocks where you have to kind of scale around it. I'm really clumsy, and sometimes I fall 20 times in an hour. And so being on a big exposed rock like that, knowing that if I fall, I'm in big trouble, that is for me, like, it's scary. And so I think that makes it harder. It's not even that it's physically hard, but mentally, I think it's hard.
Yeah, that's what people keep saying, and I hope the next section isn't quite as hard. You know, you read the trail notes, and the language is very specific. You know, when it says steep or very steep, you know, they're not kidding. And when it said, you know, some hikers might find it challenging, you know, it's very difficult. Most people might cry, but it's definitely something to consider. You know, New Zealand tramping is not something that you know, many people, I think, are familiar with, having hiked, you know, in various places in the world. It is very difficult. in retrospect, I would bring a more robust tent, but maybe some, you know, a North Face mountaineering tent might be appropriate. But you know, for the weight, it's kind of hard to justify when you're sitting in your living room and you're trying to consider what's important and what's not, and what the weather's going to be like and what the mountains are going to be like, and yeah, it's hard to say.
The only regret I have, and I don't know if it would have turned out differently, is the tent we brought, because the first night on this track there was a wind and rainstorm, and there was like a big gust, and it kind of flattened the tent and snapped the pole and tore the fly. So we have no tent right now.
You was afraid?
I wasn't afraid. Like, we were camped beside the hut, but it was just I was afraid like it could not end the trip, but just like, what does this mean for the trip? Because I knew that it's a pretty critical piece of gear.
The huts definitely in the South Island were really unique, and I've never hiked such a long distance trail, but just knowing that you're able to go like 3-4 days into the backcountry and know there's a shelter for you, like, that's what made those rainy days easy, or not easy, but made them good, because you knew you were walking to a hut and all you had to do was push to the hut and you'd get out of the rain. So definitely New Zealand's hut system with, I think, almost 1,000 huts, like, just make the trip really special. Yeah.
Windows wide, the curtains fly to catch the evening breeze. Without you here to keep me warm, believe I'd rather freeze. Believe I'd rather freeze. And how long can we walk that line between the sea and sand? How long can we bide our time for dreams we never planned? For dreams we never planned. When the sky said the winter time is coming on, and you cry to see a shadow, babe, it's growing long across the lawn.
Oh yes. Well, actually, the food's pretty important, and not just from, you know, calorie point of view. Hey, you've got to survive as a human being as well. So all aspects of nutrition need to be thought of. And not necessarily, the food that's good for energy isn't necessarily good for adequate nutrition. The taste is also important, and I can tell you that I'm getting a wee bit tired of most of the food. It's great to stop in a nice place like this. We're going to have lunch in a few minutes with some folks, and I think, well, I'm looking forward to that. The food on the trail, yeah, it gets a bit much the same.
Good food, definitely. Yeah, good food, like healthy food, salad. Like, I'm vegetarian, so this is a bit difficult. Like the limited food options you have on the trail. I'd say this is almost on top of my list, what I do miss from home.
When the sky said the winter time is coming on, and you cry to see a shadow, babe, it's growing long across the lawn, another song.
Every day is a new adventure. Every person you meet has an amazing story. And every other hiker you may meet out here this time, you might see them hiking in Slovakia or wherever else at some point in 6 months or 10 years from now. I bumped into a guy when I was in Australia doing my first through hike, talked to him for 10 minutes, and bumped into him 3 years later on the Appalachian Trail. And I was like, hey, I remember this guy, and we started talking, and then he remembered everything that we talked about. It was just such a small world. It was incredible.
You know, I've always said that, you know, traveling is good for people. Like, if you don't if you don't travel, you have a closed mind. And if you have a closed mind, you have trouble accepting other people and other cultures and other ways of doing things. So I think the more people travel, the better off they are. So that's kind of one of my main motivations for travel in general. And then to do the TA was, you know, just to do something long and in the wilderness in New Zealand was more than enough motivation to want to do it.
The kindness and generosity of just ordinary people that we meet along the way, people, some of whom have never heard of the Te Ara Roa Trail before. We walk past these people in the street, sometimes they look harried or worried about something, and yet just scratch the surface and underneath is a kind, loving person. Yeah, I think I've become a little bit more respectful of a wider range of people than I might have previously. So rather than a favourite place, a favourite thing would be the people.
And this was one good thing which we did. This journey, like everybody, which you've seen in this movie, everybody had a reason to walk. And some of them finished and some of them not, for any reasons. And it doesn't matter, because they started and they went to this journey and they learned something from it.
Well, I think that's the same everywhere. Like where I'm from too, you know, there's people that haven't left a 50 or 100 kilometer radius of where they live, and when they pass that 50 kilometers, it's twice a year, and you know, they haven't even visited Canada, which I think is crazy, you know. And yeah, that just leads to, you know, us versus them. It doesn't lead to kind of a united community around the world. So.
You don't need all the crap in your life. You need so few material items, things, to be comfortable, to be happy, to be content. You really don't need much. So simplify my life, or simplify how you live, and not making things so complicated. And most of all, don't be afraid to be now, here, in the present, because life is not a destination, you know. It's what we do now. It's all the little things, the hard, the good and the bad. That's life. You can't wait for, oh, my life will be good when. This is life. Enjoy this now, because it's gonna be gone. And I believe we have one life. So, but if you live it well, that's all you need.
Smoke is clear. Sit alone with a beer and run through the rubble. Months of trouble in the end. The tears on your face, the sight of you walking away, and the memories drop and ring like bombs in my head.
Just imagine you walked 4 or 5 days and you walk down there and you know just another couple Ks and there's the dairy coming, okay? And the dairy has got this lemon, lime, and bitters, and you walk faster and faster and faster. Open the door. And say, hello, it's me. Do you have the lemon, lime, and bitters? Oh yeah, there. And everything is fine. That's it. Believe it. Why not? Maybe you also can order a hamburger. No? If you did a mangamuka. Yeah, whatever.